Hello and welcome to this week's Pubcast. This week is officially, I think, Pubcast number 22, although I'm not sure we could really call last week's Pubcast the Pubcast, can we? But we will anyway. As per usual, James is not here, so if there's any missed, have a look around. He may well miss it, as he did at Holme Fen.
Again.
Yeah, again. We had a great little time, didn't we, last week? Last Friday, we all met up and did some stupid stuff to video. If you haven't seen that, go check it out.
It was a cracking day. Absolutely loved it. Great company, great place, although I would say that. But yeah, really, really good. That video, Gary, was hilarious. If you haven't seen that, guys, just watch it. It's absolutely... We had so much fun making it there, didn't we? We really did. If anybody would have been watching us, those dog walkers, if they'd seen what we were doing, they'd have chucked us out.
Do you remember that when that woman came along and we were all like, no, nothing to see here. No, we're not doing anything. No, we're all good.
Just a bunch of 50-year-olds acting like brats.
Move along. Nothing to see here.
Yeah. It was. I tell you what. I thought it was a really fantastic morning. I mean, I'm gutted I couldn't stay with you for longer, but it was brilliant. I had such a good time, and the conditions were spot on, weren't they? Really were.
Yeah. Someone else that missed when we got there. We settled down for a cup of tea and we were just watching it roll in. Oh, very lovely.
Yeah, and you got a stove out the size of an Arga to boil up some water.
Don't you mock, man. Hey, your brew was done in less than 30 seconds with that, flame.
And the cow was cooked in about the same time.
He didn't trip over it afterwards, did he?
No.
Tripped over it as he walked in the bloody place.
I had my pastry socks on, that's why that day.
Pastry socks?
My pastry socks were made of Cornwall pastry that morning. So keep them warm for my dinner.
Oh my God.
Oh, dear. Now, I've got to say, though, speaking as a mountain man, it was a really good location considering it was flat as a pancake. Because, I was all ready to not be impressed. And I've got to say, I was completely the opposite end of the scale. I was totally impressed. Brilliant location. Absolutely brilliant.
2.5 metres below sea level as well. You were...
Really? That's why I couldn't breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to come on to this in a minute, but... looking at our images, we all got... I mean, I haven't seen yours yet, Darren, to be fair, but I think I've seen one from everyone else. And we all got such different images as well from the same place, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, I mean, I was really... After 15 minutes, I suppose, of being there, 20 minutes tops of actually being into the woods, I switched over to wildlife. So I only really took, I think it was only really 2, maybe 3 images of the woods. But quite frankly, that was the best of the day, because as soon as we stepped into the woods, the mist was absolutely fantastic. But it disappeared, didn't it? Within
really quickly.
Because I thought to myself, that I don't know, it looks like it's lifting just a little bit, and within about 5 to 7 minutes after me thinking, is that starting to lift? It was all over. It was gone.
Yeah.
I was recording a piece to camera, and I'd started when there was mist, and when I turned round, it had gone.
Yeah,
literally just
that,
went.
Yeah.
I started my 2-second timer, and by the time it fired, it had gone.
Yeah, that's why I was falling over. So I was kind of running in the bracken, and in the bracken was fallen birch.
It was funny. That was so funny.
So I was kind of running into fallen birch.
Flailing arms in the bracken.
I was really hoping that somebody vlogging it would have got him on camera rolling about in his bracken.
That's an absolute miss that was, wasn't it? I can't believe none of us.
Exactly. 6 cameras and nobody got it.
I did position myself away from you all because I know I was getting excited from the moment we was there. So I thought I really need to, and I noticed Darren went on a while, and I thought kind of glad because I wouldn't want to upset you with me, oh, look at that, and it was I was getting frantic, and I knew the mist was gonna go. You you just could see it was going
Well,
quick.
I'll tell you what. In all fact, I don't know if this might even be a topic that we're going to come on to, but I obviously shot, as I say, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of being in the woods before I took myself off to shoot some wildlife, which didn't quite materialise, to be honest with you. And then I kind of came back and met up with you guys, which was probably I'm guessing about an hour and 20 minutes after we first stepped into the woods. But then for me, after that, I was just more happy with the social. I couldn't.
Oh dear.
Oops.
I couldn't
Darren's gone.
bring myself again to actually get connected with the photography. Oh,
Oh, that was mad.
did you do that on purpose?
Speeding up at the end.
You sounded like Stephen Hawkins.
I was chatting away, and you was all like that, and I thought, tossers, they're all about it. We're not doing all of that. And then I thought, no, all four of them are far too still. I was in mid-flow.
What were you saying?
I don't know. What was I saying?
Come again.
Will you pick it up from the bit where you went?
Right. So I think this might be a topic. I'm going to have to start from the beginning now. So I think when we were talking about possibly. Fuck off! You're all doing it again.
Not doing anything.
We're hanging on your every word.
Yeah, but it's a long word.
Right, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this again, but I want everyone just to move, right? Just so I know. They're just like a screensaver. That's it. Like, you know, tales of the unexpected. The old.
Well, don't mind us. You carry on.
Right. Perfect. Right.
When you're ready.
It. Oh, I can't remember what I was talking about now. Seriously. Ooh. Right, I'll tell you what, I might have to
Oh, he's going again.
change. Have I gone again?
No, you're there.
Mally, stop doing that. Stop. Mally's going. That's what's throwing me. Because Mally goes. Right, I'm going to change over from my extender over to my main hub. I might.
Okay.
You might lose me for a second.
Painful.
Go on. We'll wait for you, mate.
You've got to put this in.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Go.
Oh, that was quick.
Whoa, that.
Oh, bloody hell.
You seem to have turned very. Look at that.
He snapped
fast?
into 4K.
Yeah. Excellent.
Right, where were you?
Right.
It better be good now.
Yeah.
Well, no, I've lost
He
all my
didn't get the
train of
deer,
thought.
did he? So when you buggered off after the mist.
So that's what I was going to say. Right. So obviously, I stepped in and I set the vlogging camera up straight away. I was really kind of into the photography and the vlogging, and then I thought, right, I'm going to take myself off to shoot some wildlife. And I think I was gone for about. I just saw Dave blink, so I know that I'm all right. Then I was off for about an hour and 20 minutes, and then I come back to you guys, met up with you guys. But I think because I was enjoying the social so much, I just lost all motivation to actually shoot any more photography that day. And I think, wasn't there a topic that we was going to talk about, was are we better off, are we more productive or creative when we're actually on our own rather than when you're in a group or a pairing or something like that? Because I know as soon as I come back to you guys, we all get together every Friday. We haven't seen each other for like this for about a year. So it was so nice, to actually. So I just sacked all the photography off, and I just enjoyed the day.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I thought the photography was way more important. So I just
I've got to say, it was lovely to see you all, but what a place. I felt so compelled, and I did want to talk to you all, and we did, but do you know what? I've got to tell you something though. Do you know we're all here like this, and we're like little faces? When you all rocked up that morning, I'd already been with David, so I'd climatised to the size of his head. But I don't know if anyone else had this. But when you all rocked up, I was like, look at the size of their heads. Why are their heads so big? It's like looking at
the mushrooms.
I'm looking at you all going, look at the size of Gary's head. I don't remember his head being that big last time I seen him. And it's because we've been on here, so when we was in real life, it was like you all had these dead big heads. It was like, oh.
I literally didn't think that at all.
Did you not?
No.
Did no one think that?
No, it's just your head. It's what's inside your head that's worrying, mate.
Wobbly big heads everywhere. I was like, whoa, look at Darren.
To be fair, Darren's taller in real life.
Yeah.
I'm 8'7".
How much sleep had you had, Mally?
Yeah,
about an hour and a half. But I didn't do the drive neither. Although having said that, I think I drove more. I had my foot on clutch a bit, but Dave's a very good driver. Very good.
you were in your element though, mate, weren't you? I was watching your face as you were turning each corner in that place, and you were going mental.
I can still see groupings of trees, and I know where they are. Do you know when you got us lost? I mean, do you know when we walked down?
We didn't get lost. I was taking you on a guided tour of different areas of the fen that you may have not seen before.
How many times though did we go? Did we go to a new part of that fen?
Oh, every time we turned the corner.
Brilliant. I can still see the shop there where we walked down. We had to double back. There was I thought that'd make a perfect wild camp place, and at the time we didn't think we had a campsite we were going to, but later on when I got back, I think I said to Dave, I thought that would have made a perfect wild camp, and there was compositions there of really gnarly birch, which there was only a few. A lot of them were huge, tall, straight, and there was these odd characters that just here and there pop up looking a bit like...
To be fair, camping in those woods would have been a damn sight better than that god-awful campsite.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Sure. Oh.
But I have to say, driving through the night and having no sleep is well worth it to watch Mally attempt a grade 1 scramble out of a ditch where he's not likely to make it.
I had a bum's eye view of it. I did. It was fantastic.
The only one that I really got to witness well was when just before we got to the lake with the fallen tree and Mally trying to get under the tree on the path, kind of went down and he came back up, slightly different angle, went down, came back up again, slightly different angle. That I should have got on film.
You should.
The thing is, if people don't know Mally like we know Mally. If you've never seen him vlog, and we've seen him vlog loads of times, it would be really easy to think that Mally goes, this is fantastic and it's really good and I'm having a great time, and then comes off the camera and goes, whatever, anyway, wander on. But he's not. He's literally he's like that from the moment he steps out of the car until the moment he gets back in the car. You were so excitable. And the joy is just fantastic to watch.
But it must have been nice for you, Jay, that that we all had like a thoroughly good day, on your recommendation and your home turf.
Yeah, I think you'd have given me a right ribbon if you'd have turned up and hated the place. But I knew Mally would like it anyway because it's just full of silver birch. But we had good conditions and that did help. To be fair, that mist and then that sort of that lovely soft light we got when the sun rose. Some of your images, Dave, that you posted with that light coming through is glorious. Yeah. Really nice. So I think we struck lucky with the conditions, but yeah, I think I was chuffed. I was chuffed. And James as well. I know he's not here yet, but James clearly wasn't over the moon about travelling all the way down to the Fens, was he? To be fair, he wanted to go somewhere high, but we convinced him. And he came away saying, I'm coming back in the autumn. So I was like, brilliant, you know.
I mean, let's be honest, out of all of us, I'd say James is probably the hardest one to please, you know. And if he likes something, then you know that it's a success. So anyway, moving on, because, you know, talking about all the images, we're going to share, aren't we? We're going to share one of our favourite images each from the day, and we'll talk about what we liked about it, and we'll... you know, and then we'll all gush over it at each other and go, wow, that's fantastic, you know, like we do. Yes, Darren?
Can I have a wee?
Yes.
Here he goes again.
Feel free. We'll come back to it in a minute. So who wants
to
go
first? You go first.
No, someone else can go first. Mally, you can go first. Let's see your image, mate. Go on.
Oh,
what
God.
you got for us?
Let's see. Here we go. Is it going to work? It's going to work.
Recognise that.
Yeah.
The chaos.
Is that full screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is now. Yeah. So talk us through it then, Mally. Talk us through your shop.
Well, I'd been looking at these before we got here. Do you know where the little squirrel diving boards were? They're not squirrel diving boards, but there's these seats with ladders going up. I think they're hunting or shooting platforms. Jamie will tell you later. But we'd seen all this anyway, and we're walking, and I didn't expect this after, and David stopped because he saw this plethora of silver birch, and we carried on walking, and we said, all right, yeah, Dave, we'll leave you in peace, you know, have a minute, because we'd all been jibber jabbering and blah blah blah. And then I saw this character, and there was a clearing. It was almost like he was going, the curtains are open, I'm on the stage, what do you think of this performance? And there he was, right in the middle. I thought, he's got to just go in the middle, surrounded with all these... There's just one thing about this picture, and it's really bugging me, and I think if I got rid of it, it would vastly improve it. And you guys tell me, you know, on your left, I'm not sure, there's one birch that comes down lower. The ones on the edges are fine, but there's one about that far in, and
left centre you're on that.
Yes, I just need to get...
He needs to clone out the 17th one from the left.
That's right, yeah. But this idea of chaos came from the idea of doing multiple exposures to overlay and make it look like there's more trees. On this occasion, I really didn't need to do anything. That was how many birch there were with this gnarly bastard in the middle. Technical term there.
I like that bit because nothing's sharp on this image. Did you reduce the clarity on this?
Yeah, it's just a shit photographer.
Yes.
Nikon glass.
No, because it does. It's got a lovely feel to this image. I think if this image was really sharp, I'm not too sure it would work as well. But being that it's really soft, I think it almost looks like a photo, like a print. Sorry, this image. Yeah, really nice, really subtle.
I like the little leaves being sharp, and I like the gnarly man in the middle where he's flailing around telling them all, get in order. Come on, guys, get yourselves straight. And he's quite sharp, but the rest of them I have knocked back a little bit and just dappled the ferns a little bit, you know.
Oh, it might be the way that the screen is just presenting it to me, but I'm looking at this and nothing is sharp, but it looks nice not being sharp, really soft, really painterly.
Yeah, I think most of the images that we all took that morning had that sort of painterly feel to them, and I think that was because that was reality. You know, the light that we had introduced that sort of soft painterly feel.
Like, look at that nature creating that. And these little just dancing light. You know, I've done nothing to that. Just the little touches of light and the collections of clusters of these little leaves all day. Those little leaves were really just wonderful dapples of a watercolour brush. It was very painterly all day.
I think, mate, you've done really well to get an image from there, and I know it was we had the light, we had the conditions, but I've walked past that so many times, and I've looked at that area and really struggled to find anything to create a composition that's pleasing, because it's just so busy. There's just so many, as you say, so many trees all rammed into one area, and it's difficult to create something that's pleasing to the eye because it's just a lot of trees. And I think
it's
one in the middle
interesting
really
because
helps you.
The standard thought on woodland photography is try and find something that you can isolate. And Mally's gone completely the opposite and said, I don't want anything isolated. I want as much as I can possibly squeeze in. And for that reason, it works really well.
I think as well, putting the main story in the centre, the main focal point in the centre worked really well. And you're talking about having that one tree further down that you weren't sure about. I actually think if you'd have cloned it or done something with it, I don't think it would have looked natural. I think the fact you don't want it too symmetrical, because nature isn't that symmetrical. I mean, sometimes it is, but in instances like that, it isn't. You're going to have something not quite in, where you might want it, but that's what makes the image really,
That's an interesting point, Gary, about woodland, because it is so busy and there's always lots of things going on, whether they're twigs, branches, leaves, or whatever. And sometimes, you can get into Photoshop, and where you'd normally do a clean-up, you'd normally sort of tidy up distractions and make sure it all fits and it's symmetrical. You can't really do that in woodland because you are changing the scene completely. So sometimes you just leave it as it is, and it's really only if something is just too distracting that you have to remove it because it just takes the eye. You just have to leave woodland and just accept it for what it is, and make the composition around that, I don't want to use the word, but that chaos. That's what it is. Yeah.
Wow, I love it. It's like a drone. To me, a lot of photography is very similar to music in rhythm and the way so I've said this before, colours make sounds. To me, yellow has a sound. There's certain, I can't explain it, there's a rhythm, and when you look at a scene, it's moving, it's dancing. Sometimes you see it with water, and you get this kind of rhythm and this noise in my head where I think, there's almost a drone sound to that image for me, where it's quite ethereal, and there's a conversation going on many times to the point where it's so loud that the noise becomes singular, so that the chaos eventually becomes one sound, or in an image terms, the chaos becomes eventually almost like one pattern, if you like, one scene. And I really like that. I'm going to go further into that idea. I went to Hersham not long ago and was taking shots of waves and trying to get that same idea where the movement was so chaotic that it was creating a constant noise to the point where it was so bad, it was so colossal that it became a flat image. It became quite, I can't explain it. It's just, it's in nature everywhere. This repeating colossal chaotic vision art, where eventually it becomes so much so that it joins into being one, from this mass to being together.
So the rule of thirds doesn't really work too well on that.
Mate, I'm with you.
Moving on from Rain Man, is anyone who's not autistic got an image they want to share?
Go on then, I'll have a go at mine.
Go on, Jamie.
Come on, Jamie, show us how it should be done.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Oh,
is that full screen?
Oh, Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, indeed. Now, this one, I did call Beauty and the Beast, you're right. And it was shot, if anybody's watched the vlog, it was shot because I filmed a bit of B-roll. I was standing, I think it was you and it was Gary and Darren, we were standing chatting, and I'd put the camera down, filmed a bit of B-roll. And I hadn't really noticed this shot, this composition at all. And once I'd filmed it, I looked at it, I thought, there is definitely something there. And the thing that got me with this was that conflict between an old whether it's dead or whatever, but it's got a broken arm. It's got a bit of Johnson hat hanging off of its limb, and it was clearly an ugly looking birch tree. And I don't want to be unkind to birch, but it is uglier than the rest. And then on the right hand side, you've got this younger thing. It's got a lot of foliage around it. It's got some nice autumnal bracken at the bottom, and it looks a lot nicer tree. So you've got the conflict between the two of them. And I just thought that with that story and the fact that we'd got at that point in time some really nice light that was just coming through, lighting up that fern base on the bottom, and again we've got that change in colour and change in season coming through, giving some interest to the base of the scene, and then those trees in the background just looking on, and it was a story there, and it just worked to me. And I haven't done a great deal with it. I've sort of put a few radial filters on to bring out some of the light in the middle, and I brought the oranges and the yellows out a little bit just to enhance that autumnal feel. Knock the texture and the clarity back a bit. That's about it really. It is what it is. But I just thought that scene to me just captured, a story, and that's what I liked about it.
I think as Darren was saying,
Nice.
I think as Darren was saying again, it's the fact that it's not, especially through to a background, is not sharp. That makes the image almost, if everything is in sharp focus, there's too much there. There's too much, but because those trees at the back are just, for me personally, the trees at the back make the image. If they weren't there, if that was something else, the image wouldn't be as strong. And it's just, the fact that they are just there in that sort of painterly style that really makes the image. If they were really standing out to you and sort of contrasty and sharp, you'd lose the attention on the front too, which is what it's all about really.
Yeah, they didn't want to be too distracting, did they? They just
No.
want to complement it rather than being distracting, because effectively that is in the middle of the image. So normally your eye is drawn there, and if you had something too distracting in the back, it is going to distract from these two characters here, which to me were the whole point of taking the shot. So
it's an opera. It's an opera going on. There's a performance, and you're like at the back of the stage, looking out at the audience.
It's very similar to yours again, Mally, in that respect, that you've got a real star of the show.
Yes.
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your work.
Any
Thank you
questions?
for listening. Yes.
For those of you on the
Homework set
podcast,
later.
for those of you on the podcast, we've just the picture's gone. So, yeah, Jamie went no more picture.
Well, you'd
Get rid of
finished
it.
looking at it, so
Yes,
next.
right. Come on in, Darren. Let's have a look at yours, mate.
Oh yeah, Darren.
Because
we've
we've all seen everyone else's, haven't we? But we haven't seen Darren's yet. So this is going to be a.
Let's see. Right.
Hey up.
Just
There
gonna-
we go. He's in. Boom. Straight away. Boom.
Right. Well, this. Don't know if I can.
Nice.
Well, this image. Well, this was the first image that I took. I was literally there for, I don't know, it must have been about 5 minutes, kind of stepping onto that pathway. And after this particular image, I think I only took a further 2, which I've not even really looked at, or certainly not processed yet. So, as I say, this was the first image from the day. And it's an okay image. I like, what I really liked about this was, I like the trees, giving it the frame.
Framing.
And especially the tree, as I'm looking at the screen, it's the right hand side, the upper right hand side of this image, where the real heavy tree is framing the image. What I don't like about this, as I'm looking at it, is the bottom left with that horizontal tree that's obviously snapped off. And I did think about cropping this image to actually lose that, but then I kind of almost like the symmetry of the other overhanging tree on the left hand side of this image. So I decided in the end to kind of keep it almost as shot 3x2, and leave that small horizontal branch on the bottom left hand side. And also with this, I did do a little bit of split toning. As it came off the camera, the mist was very golden, very yellowy, and I used some split toning just to cool down the highlights to almost like a green, a very pale greeny colour. But I'd be quite interested to find out what your opinion is on that fallen tree.
Well, two things for me. That when you have people sort of trying to give you tutorials and teaching you how to take images, and they say about framing an image, frame an image, make a natural frame. That there is how you make a natural frame. It's subtle, and it isn't overdone. You know, often you'll see people get a whacking great tree, and they'll put it over the side with and it looks ridiculous, but that doesn't. In terms of the fallen tree, I actually quite like it. You could say it's a distraction, but I like it. I like the fact that it's there, and it's just, that's part of nature, and that's what's happened. And it's like, if that wasn't there, no one would know it. No one would know that it was there, if you cloned it out correctly. But I just think it works really well.
Yeah, I think, you see, the centre tree on this, the very kind of white silver birch, I think that naturally, your eye naturally lands on that, and it naturally stays right in the centre of this image. But it's that, I don't know, my eye keeps wandering off to that fallen branch, that fallen limb on the left. However, I say when I crop it, I do lose then the framing on the top left hand side. And so out of the two, because admittedly you guys have not seen the two crops, but out of the two, I just felt that I would rather have that little bit of framing with on the left hand side and that fallen branch than crop it out.
For me, the problem is, I think you're right, Darren. If you crop it, you then lose the balance in the image because it's too heavy on the right. But when you've noticed that branch, you can't unsee it.
Exactly.
And I would probably have a go at cloning it. If it was my image, I would do my best to clone it.
Don't you think if you clone it out, it's a bit too perfect?
Clone it or crop it? What was you?
No, clone. I would clone all day long.
I did try cloning it, and I know I was zoomed in when I cloned it, but I'm really nervous about cloning stuff because I'm always worried that when you're doing it, you get behind it and you get invested in it, and you think that's fine. And then a fresh pair of eyes looks at an image and it's really obvious. I get really nervous about cloning something that's quite complicated to clone. If it was a dust spot or something very, on a very flat background, I'd have no problem. But with this, I did try it, and it.
No, I think for me, you see, if that's cloned out, your eye isn't even remotely drawn to that side of the image. And the balance is beautiful, and your eye then moves into the centre of the clearing to that lovely area in the middle, which is where the magic is happening, and your eye isn't getting pulled out like Dennis Wise. Oh, I'm looking both ways at once. Do you know what I mean?
See, I don't know. I'm tempted to say leave it because it is what it is. It's part of the scene. It's part of what you saw, and I know that I get your point about a distraction, but I guess it's depending on what you want to do with this image, really, because we're criticising it or critiquing it, from a photographer's perspective, knowing that technically there's a distraction there. But the average viewer that looks at this is going to see a lovely, misty, beautiful scene in the woods, and they're not really going to be bothered by that tree on the left-hand side. So
you see, it works like a flipper.
Oh, sorry.
No, seriously, right. There's movement again. There's rhythm in an image. If you start over on your right, where you've got the heavier branches framing it, they curve round, they arc round, and it gets less and smaller. And you drop down, and that tree throws you back in, and it's almost like a circle, a cycle. You get
assuming you read from right to left, though.
It doesn't matter.
Naturally, we read from left to right.
Well, there's no right in here, so in an image my eye is drawn to the heavy framing in the right. And that then throws me off to the left, and then the flipper tree, the tree then throws me back into the middle. And it's a circle, and it keeps going. And I've been sat here not saying anything because it's been happening over and over again. I keep looking at the image, I get taken to the right, I get tucked to the left, and then the fallen tree brings me back in the middle, and so it continues. It's beautiful.
That's E flat for you.
That's right. Yeah, that's interesting, and it's interesting that we have got different views on an image. But I think, and as I say, and we're all entitled to have them views and stick to them views. But I'm very much the opinion of Dave, or Dave's very much the opinion of me, that once you see that fallen tree, I can't unsee it, and it does. It does
James.
need.
Oh, evening, chaps. Sorry to come in late.
Hey, James.
Yeah, you missed the mist. Oh no, here it is.
James, this is mist, in case you're wondering.
Right, go on, James. What are you thinking?
Okay, I think it's a wonderful image. It really is.
All right, stop.
But you mentioned it is nature, but as photographers, we can play around with nature, can't we? And compose to make a shot as beneficial or better as possible. For me, it cropped. It needs to be cropped. It's a distraction, and it's on the edges as well. I think if you crop yourself in to the third tree.
Yeah, that's where I cropped
the third tree. That's got a bit of contrast in the bark, so I think it will still balance. If you bring it in from the left-hand side, it will still be balanced with a lovely overhanging foliage here on the right-hand side. More. That for me is more pleasing.
I can hear what you're saying, James, and that's exactly what I did. But I think Dave's right. I think I think I'm going to try and clone that out because I think the image works better with the framing, but the fallen tree cloned out. When I have cropped it, it just doesn't. It feels very much lopsided to me. It feels very kind of unbalanced. But anyway, I think I've taken up enough time of this photo. So. Oh,
that's
shit.
what I wanted to take anyway, but we're a bit late to the party.
How do I? Oh, stop share. There we go.
There you go. And here's James. James is here. Hello, mate. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine. Thanks very much.
Right, who's
Mine's
next
a
then?
pint,
So
James.
let's have a look at Dave. What have you got first, mate?
Share screen. So that's the one that I'm putting forward as my favourite from the day.
I like that.
Now the thing is that I did have one with a shaft of light running through diagonally with some out of focus bracken just in the very bottom in the foreground, and it was a lovely image, and people engaged with it on social media, which I've now binned off because they don't know what they're talking about. But it was too easy, it was too cheesy, it was too much of a, oh look, there's a shaft of light, get your phone out, oh that's Instagram worthy. For me, this one I prefer, but I have done quite a lot of work on it. I like the asymmetry of the twin thin in the background, and then this one kind of dead centre, and then a big fat one to the right. And it really breaks all the rules, because the centre line across horizontally is the difference between foreground and background. And I took quite a few versions of this at the time, and luckily the light really didn't change very much, so I was able to pick and choose. But for me, it was all about the contrast of the foreground bracken, giving you a really strong foreground. I've autumn effect in between the trunks in the background, being careful not to allow the autumn effect to overrun the birch bark. So it is, bottom line, it's heavily processed, but all of my images are heavily processed because I don't care. That's it, really. Thank you very much. Rip it apart.
That's the lovely thing about the image, though, David. Straight away to look at it, you wouldn't say this was overly processed. That's down to skill.
You. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I tried to make it as unobvious as possible, but I'm sure there are things that somebody better than me would be able to pick up on.
I mean, for me, normally I'd say that sky at the top there is a bit bright, but it works really well because it's almost symmetrical with the with the fern at the bottom. So the discoloured fern matches the sky at the top. It's kind of a balance, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's what you went for, but yeah.
No, absolutely, you're absolutely right, Gary. Actually, I've cropped a chunk of sky from above that because it was too much, and the sky that's there is tolerated. It's there just like, don't get in my face. I'll let you off this once, but yeah, if I could have got rid of it completely, I would have. To be honest,
I think it balances, Dave. I think it balances.
Yeah,
with the discoloured
but also
fern.
it accounts for the light source. It makes sense of the light in the very far background, because without that, the very far background would almost look a bit comical.
Have you applied radial filters or anything on the front?
Oh
Dave?
my God, yes,
Yeah.
loads of them. And I've got a tablet and a stylus, and I have literally. Do you know what? I was just about to point to my own screen. You can't see that. You can't see the cursor, but even little highlights on the bracken leaves, there are tiny little brush strokes all over the place.
Yeah.
Where I've used my stylus. I mean, this is, I'll be honest, this is a good 2 or 3 hours of processing this one image.
Wow, crikey!
Yeah,
but it shows, mate. It shows because it lifts. As you say, that little bit of work you've done just makes that foreground lift. Because effectively, apart from that. The orange fern in the middle, the rest of it is just green fern. So without that light hitting the top of them, it would just be a mass of just green, really. So you've brought out that contrast, haven't you, by doing that? But no, the reason I asked, because I think that the natural light that you were saying coming through, the whole thing does look natural. So even though you've applied the radial filters, I think sometimes when you can apply radial filters, it could look a little bit unnatural if it's not balanced with the light source and it's not coming in the right direction. But that to me just looks natural, even though you have applied the radial filters.
Cheers,
I'm
thanks a lot, mate.
not going to critique it. I think I said to you before, there's a cracking image. And interestingly, I've seen that I took the same forked trees with the dark tree, but from a 90-degree angle from where you are, I think.
Ah, right, okay.
So it's interesting, looking at it from that side. Yeah, love it.
Well done,
Okay,
mate.
well that's me. Thank you very much, folks. I'll just scuttle off now. Stop sharing.
So James, do you want to show us yours, mate?
Yeah, okay, so I was late to the part, the mist had gone. Ideally, I could do with a bit less mist, but I think I just love the attitude of this tree. And I just love, and what appealed to me is obviously the tree, but the little splashes of discoloured bracken as well.
I think that's what does it.
Yeah, the bracken which is leading you up, which is out of focus at the bottom, but it's all about the character of the tree. And I had to move around, because I wanted a bit of separation between the branches, the left and the right hand branch. There needs to be separation there. It's almost like a character. And I introduced the branch on the left hand side that's slightly weaving, creating a frame in itself, and also on the right hand side in a far distance I made sure there's some separation. And I just like the contrast between the character of the tree in the front and the background verticals. It's almost like it's been placed on a grid. But yeah, this. Do you know what? This was my very last shot on my Canon 5D Mark III. My very last shot. So sentimental as well. So yeah,
special memories.
Yeah.
I remember when we talked about it before you came, James.
When we got double back.
When we got lost, when Jamie we doubled back.
Yeah.
This was at
Jamie.
the end.
Yeah.
This was at the end of that path.
It was. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Sorry.
No, I was saying it's them splashes of yellow as well. That yellow and burnt oranges that I like about this shot. I think without them little touches, I don't think it would be quite as good. If I'm honest, without it, as effective. That's the word I was looking for.
It'd be nice in autumn when the brackens really turn bronze.
I don't think that'll be far away until that happens with the way that was turning when we were there. I think we're only a few weeks away from
It's all very early this year, isn't it?
It is early, yeah.
I mean, it's around here, it's a good 6 weeks early than normal.
Is it?
It's a bit worrying. Yeah. It's going to be a long winter. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's nice.
I'm overdoing mistake.
Oh, we're just cantering through
there
the
you
album.
go. I had to show this, didn't I? Yeah. I mean, I just noticed this cathedral effect there, and I thought, it needs a bit of a foreground interest. So there you go. I've introduced myself a bit of a selfie there. Don the old orange coat, green and orange, always good colour combination.
It's Kruger-esque.
And Kruger, yeah.
It's Kruger-esque.
It's crude.
Worst nightmare. So there you go. There
Nice.
you go. Unshare my
Brilliant.
screen. How do I do that? Stop sharing.
Very good,
Brilliant.
very good.
But yeah.
So
just
who
leaves
we
you then,
got
mate.
left then?
Well, this is the one that I chose. You see that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's
And I went back
it's
to
subtle.
I went back today, actually, weirdly enough, and I realised I think the thing that I like to do is shoot the birches from a distance. So when you're in amongst them, there's a lot of depth to the shot, and I quite like that. I feel this shot's quite 2D, quite flat, because I'm stood quite a long way back, and I'm shooting it at about 150 mil, and all of those birches, those front birches, are almost all lined up. And I kind of felt like for me the leaves are a bit like bunches of balloons, if that makes sense. And that's kind of the way that I wanted to put it across. It's like the white of the birches. Probably if I was re-editing it now, I'd probably make those birches a bit whiter, the trunks. But I didn't want it. I wanted to have it very low contrast. I didn't want it too punchy.
It's very Japanese layering. There's almost like slats and slats and slats for me. Of you could almost say that they're like prints on glass. There's so much. You say it's flat, Gary, but there's a hell of a lot of depth.
I really like that image. I really like it. I think I think there's so much kind of there's so many green leaves in that, with then them really kind of subtle silver birches in the middle. I think that's a fantastic. And the more I like it, the more I look at it, the more I like it. And can I just say that going back to Mally's shot and then looking at obviously this shot, Gary, and then obviously James, the one before, I realised that when I said to you, Mally, I like it because it's not particularly sharp. I think it's the way I'm viewing it, because James's shot didn't look particularly sharp when I looked at it on my computer. But if this isn't sharp, Gal, what I'm looking at, I love it if it's not sharp, because I don't know. It's just I love when you sometimes the woodland, when you take away the clarity. I don't know. It just gives it a more painterly feel. And
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
I think this is a cracking image. This.
For me, the shot would work really good as a large print, because it's one of those images which you're not going to appreciate as much online, such as Instagram. It needs to be on the wall. You need to enjoy the detail, similar to your shot, Molly, the chaotic. Have you shown that already? Have I missed that? Yeah. So, yeah, very similar to that. Lots of detail. Missed it, yeah. Is this a panoramic, Gary?
No,
All right.
not one panoramic was taken on that trip.
You did well.
Yeah,
Proud of you.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
No,
Cheers,
That
son.
patch of the leaves on the silver birch on the left, with a few yellow ones coming through, and I don't know whether you brightened it up at all, but that really helps it, doesn't it? That helps that composition, because if it had been all green, it would have been nice, but because you got a few yellow ones in there, it just lifts that bit completely.
I
It
think
really works.
what stands out from all of these images, though, is how we were all stood almost shoulder to shoulder, socially distanced, of course, in the same location, and yet we all saw different things, and we all produced quite markedly different things.
Different, yeah.
Even given that we were pointing our cameras at virtually the same things.
when you think about woodland, and it is how do we kind of separate the chaos? How do we kind of focus in on one thing? So it's not. Well, I must admit, my two favourite images have been Mally's and Gary's, and they've been nothing but chaos. It's just been crazy, but they just work. They just work so well. Just a huge blank or huge canvas of just chaotic.
But there's
woodland.
still balance, though. There's still balance.
Yeah,
They're
I
not
thought
that
it
chaotic,
fantastic.
really. There's still balance throughout.
It's interesting actually, because I was thinking about this today. I've been out to Holme Fen again this morning, And I was thinking there were a lot of vloggers now who are concentrating more and more on woodland.
We've got nowhere to go down south.
Well, I think I have a theory on this, and I think that because of COVID and because of the lockdown, more and more people or less people are feeling they can go to the real national parks and places like that, and they're going out and they're exploring woodland, and so you're getting a lot more woodland vlogs and woodland images, and I think we're all the better for it, to be honest with you. It's like when you go out to wherever you go, if you go to, you go to Lone Tree, whatever, at Llanberis, or you go to, Bleetarn, or you go to whatever, you're kind of pigeonholed into a shot, aren't you? But look at that. Look at where we went. And I bet you all of us could have had another 10, 15 images that we'd taken or that we'd looked at from that one small place.
The beauty of that place is it's so big and there's so many areas to go. You've got dense silver birch where you shot that chaos shot, and then you've got the clearings, and then you've got, as you said earlier on, you've got areas that are not silver birch. You've got a few oaks, so there's a few Scots pines dotted around as well. So there's so much to explore in that area. You could literally
I think you're absolutely right, Jamie. But Gary's point about the locations as a result of the circumstances of this year are much more egalitarian now, in that we have a situation where you can go out and people are really thinking about what they can do on their doorstep, and so you're seeing an increasing number of really good shots on a doorstep that's required somebody to think about it, to work harder, and think, oh no, I can't jump in the car and go to a honeypot location. And the photography hasn't suffered, and in a lot of respects it's better because people are able to make more of what's on their doorsteps. And I hope that that's something that comes out of the sort of thing that we've all been up to, that people are going, oh yeah, I've got a bit of woodland, I could go and shoot that, I've got some ideas now, and I'm not going to feel so negative about it. And okay, yes, now we can travel a bit, things are easier, but if people feel happier that what they've got within an hour of where they live is of more interest, I think that's a good thing, and I look forward to seeing more stuff.
I've always said that.
Totally agree, Dave.
I've always been an ambassador for that since the very first day I picked up a camera many years ago. I've always shot within 10 miles of my house. I've always done it. Crank Hill is a fine example of that, when I've had photographers who are well established saying, where is this? Can you give me the directions? I'm like, it's Crank Hill. To me, it's Crank Hill, which is funny to me because it's just a nothing. But I don't see it as a nothing. But people who live local, Crank Hill's a nothing. But to me, Crank Hill is a very special place. It's an escape from the roads and the populace, the people, the houses. And it's a mile and a half away. Same with other places local to me. And I've always said that. So to see people doing this now, I think it's only going to do what you're saying, Dave. It's only going to improve their eye. It's only going to improve the way they see the world we live in. And that's surely got to be a good thing. Surely people are going to start realising they need to take more care of the world we live in, because even local people are picking up rubbish, and that never used to happen. People would just throw rubbish and leave it. Or now people are going out, and I am selfish. I want the place to myself, but I'm seeing people who are starting to love the environment local to them. I know there's been a lot lately saying about the Lake District and destruction and wild camping and Snowdonia and people parking, but I do think eventually, I'm a positive person, that this nature will eventually soften the hearts of people.
Yeah, but the reason I want people to shoot local is so they don't come to Snowdonia.
Exactly.
Come on.
And clear off and stay away from the Lake District.
Sorry.
The other poor side, as I mentioned it earlier in the vlog, is because people can't travel, they're coming into the Lake District more, Snowdonia more, and look at the impact. That's what I have fear, because next year, if they get a taste how beautiful it is, in Wastwater, where it's usually barren, remote, and it's full of little kids on dinghies lighting campfires, and that just ruins it for me. Get away.
Maybe they'll see the error of the ways. I'm saying maybe nature will help these people.
What, like create a big sinkhole and just swallow them all?
Just make them conscientious. Make them
tidal wave runs across Wastwater and wipes them out.
Hey, if them screes give way, and I've seen this, I've had this vision with no sleep, and seeing the screes give way and a 30-foot high wave just could happen.
Yeah. So moving on, James asked a question. You said, are we more creative on our own, and do we feel we produce better images? Now, I assume this is quite relevant, seeing as we all got together at Holme Fen. So, do you want to talk about that, mate?
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because you say we all got together, but we all went in little separate ways. And why is the reason for that? I just think if you're speaking from personal, so personally, if I'm with someone, then I'm conscious I'm with someone, and I want to have a conversation with that person, and I don't like uncomfortable silences, so I'm conscious of that. I want to keep conversation flowing, and that in itself distracts me, because when I want to focus and compose a shot, I want to be in the zone. So I want to be on my own, in the zone, focusing and concentrating on what I have to do.
Saving the ozone.
And that's basically it. If I'm on my own, a bit of solitude, my own time, free to focus on what I want to do.
Throw a curveball in for you though, James. What if you're with people who are exactly the same?
If they're exactly the same as me, then they'll do their own thing as well, won't they?
And that's when
we won't
it
be
works.
Together.
That's when it works. When you can go out with someone and there's an understanding, a quiet understanding about the art of photography, and you can just do your own thing and come back later whenever. There's no pressure, no worry. I'm going to mention my mate Mikey. Can go out with Mikey and we could be separated for an hour, or sometimes we can just be side by side talking absolute bollocks for an hour. But
and it's good, those things.
A like-minded, an understanding,
yeah, exactly. They understand each other. I mean, we did the same, didn't we, Mally? We went to
yeah.
What it?
Great Mel Fell.
Great Mel Fell. We did his own thing.
God, I don't think we've seen each other for 2 hours.
Yeah, and then we joined back at the end.
Well, there
was a chat about.
I think there are different people act in different ways. So, like, for instance, let's take Jamie and Darren, for instance. So when I meet up with Darren, it's very much we meet up, we have a chat, Darren goes off and does his own thing, and then we come back and we have a chat at the end, right? That's pretty much how it goes. We kind of go off and do our own thing. But when I go out with Jamie, for instance, we don't really separate much, do we? We're very much sort of we'll both be focusing on taking shots, but we're not a million miles apart from each other. Whereas if I go out with Darren, for instance, Darren, like we went to Wells. I remember going to Wells on sea, and Darren was gone, and I was like, "Where's he gone?" And he'd gone off into the woods.
Sorry, I do that.
Yeah, no, but that's. I just think it's different.
So I'm just far more sociable than Darren.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, I feel.
No, I just think different people act in different ways, and you're right. I think, James, some people, they want to be off. You want to go off on your own. When I first started photography, for me, it was a really solo. I thought it was a solo pursuit. I didn't think anything about making friends. I didn't think anything about going out and taking photographs with anybody else. I just thought, go off on my own, take some photos, come back, process the photos, all's good. So for me, it's been brilliant to find out that other people are interested in photography and you can make friends. But when you're out and about and you're doing it, different people act in different ways, I guess.
But I do think, a couple of things here. So firstly, like you just referred to you and I, Gal, when we went out, and I go off. That's how I know that I feel comfortable around you. If I didn't feel comfortable in your presence or any of you, I'd think, well, I better not go because that
Rude.
person would see that as rude.
Yeah.
But because I know that we're all photographers, I know if I just disappeared or you disappeared, I'd just be thinking, oh well, Gal's gone because he wants to go and take that particular shot. So I think that's fine. And not the same as like me and Dave when we go out. Dave will go off, I will go off, and then we'll come back. And I'm happy to shoot with the six of us, but I feel that photography, I'm more productive when I'm either on my own or in a pair. But when there's, say, the six of us or four of us or six of us, I think I'll get too excited about actually catching up with you guys. So all I want to do then is just have a chat, and my photography then gets put on the back burner. Which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That means because I really enjoy your company.
Yeah, I noticed that, Darren, in the afternoon, and I felt like it was good that we'd finally talked because we're so. I don't want to say we're all so good together, but we all went off and eventually met back at that one place. But yourself, after in the afternoon, you was a different. You was a different. Did anyone hear that then?
It was me. Sorry, carry on.
Everybody heard that.
You was a different photographer. You was no longer a photographer, I should say. You was my friend, and we could have a chat. And it was the end of the day then, though. So
yeah.
And that's what I mean. We go away and focus in our own little zone, but then we're all comfortable, as we did on that day.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Chat about experiences and life's problems.
But it's also fair to say one of the best moments was when we were by the lake. And I was trying to do a long exposure, and you lot were stamping around with the camera.
And you were making James a coffee.
Yeah, exactly. But there we were. Mally was doing a time lapse. We all had something going on, and yet we were all, barely socially distanced. So you pays your money and takes your choice.
Oh yeah, none of us have been ill. That's good.
If I've ever been out with people on a meetup, photography, if I get some shots out of it, that's more of a bonus. That means that I've managed to get some stuff, because really for me it's about spending some time with the people, and if I can get some shots out, it's a bonus. But I think what was interesting when we walked into the Fen, and we got over that fallen log that Mally fell over, and we started to just go into the misty area, we all separated out immediately. There wasn't right, I'm going to do this, you're going to do that. It was like we just immediately went our own ways, and everybody just accepted that, because we knew that we went into autopilot. Effectively, we went into right, there's a shot, there's a composition, I'm going to go and take it, and everybody accepted it. And you're right, what you said earlier on, Mally, because there's that mutual respect between photographers and vloggers. We know what we're there for, we know what we're going to do, and we just get on and do it. But if you are with somebody that you haven't met before, or as you said, Darren, it's not a photographer, you just feel uncomfortable, and you feel as though you should be paying them more attention than what you're there to do, which is to take some shots.
I think it's interesting because you see people doing collaborations on YouTube, and very often it comes across as, well, we're doing a collaboration because we each think there'll be some mutual benefit, but it's so awkward. And you can tell
mutually beneficial was exactly what I was going to say. Mutually beneficial, not because they're friends. It's mutually beneficial. Carry on.
No, but that's it. And yet it's stilted and awkward, and clearly they haven't gauged each other very well. And we've all seen them. And I think you make a good point, Jamie. When you pitch up and it's like, oh, conditions are good, right? Well, I'm just moseying this way. No one's going to question it. I'm not going to question you moseying that way.
There's no. Do you mind if I shoot over here? What are you going to go? Where are you going? No, you get there and you just go. You're all gone, and no one bats an eyelid. That's how
Yeah.
you know you're amongst friends
Yes.
and you're amongst other photographers. No explanation needed.
Does
anyone feel as equally uncomfortable vlogging with each other, outside of each other?
I don't feel uncomfortable vlogging, but I just don't. I think the only time I've ever vlogged when I've been out with any of you guys is with Darren, and not every time. I think only once or two. We did vlog at Nant Gwynant,
Yeah.
but there have been times we've gone out where I haven't, or I've truncated it, and it's almost because I'd rather yes, I want to take stills, but then the extra time that I have available is, I'm out with somebody, let's enjoy that. So I tend not to vlog as a rule. You'll know when we went last week, I didn't vlog.
We were talking, I was talking with Jamie when we were there last week, and we were saying that sort of, I don't know, maybe a year ago, Jamie would be vlogging, or Darren would be, any of you guys, and I'd be in the background pissing about. And we were saying that I think it's a sign of how we've grown as friends, and we've grown as vloggers, that now we're just
Grown
almost,
up.
well, except for Mally, but that's acceptable. It's okay, Mally, don't worry. But you kind of, like, Jamie was doing a piece to camera while I was like literally 10 feet away, and I just stood and thought, you know what, I'm just going to let him do it. I'm just going to let him do his piece to camera, finish it off, get it done, because, you know, if I'm wandering around and sort of taking the piss, it's interfering with his time. So it's kind of like, I know
That's a really good point. I have to apologise now publicly. This week I went to a summit that three of us went to, or attempted, and I watched each of our videos back from this particular summit in Snowdonia from about this time last year. And at the end of Mally's, he's doing his civvy sign-off, and I'm stood behind him giving it this. And
I missed that one.
but I wouldn't do it now. I realise how disrespectful it was, and I shouldn't have done it. And so you make a good point, Gary. I've grown up a lot in the last 12 months, and I'm sorry, Mally.
everyone expects it of you though, Mally, and not in a bad way.
I just blend it in. I just blend it in. I mean,
can
Mr. Davis, introduced himself on mine, didn't he?
Yeah.
Can I just say, when
it.
you're 50 feet away from a James Burns and he's in full floor and you know there's a gap in the bushes in the trees, it was
Bigfoot in distance.
It was
What
too
the hell is going
irresistible.
on?
It was just a
That
I
was
knew in
funny.
my mind, I thought if he does get this, because your camera wasn't actually pointing that way, so the wideness of the camera, and I looked and I thought, I'm not going to get in it. And then as I started walking, I thought, no, I am. I'm in it. I've got to get in.
When we were in the mountains,
Sorry,
and
James.
Mally was vlogging, Mally was giving it waxing lyrical to his camera, and Darren wasn't even filming, and he turned around and said, "Will you shut up?" That was funny.
I tell you what, that's one of the things that happens a lot though, especially when you're together and you're vlogging. Is you'll be chatting to someone, and then you'll be turned around taking a shot, and they'll go, I really like this tree over here, and you go, yeah, and you're like,
You're
they're
vlogging.
They're vlogging.
Yeah. Well, I did the same, remember? I was vlogging in front of that selfie. And I told you, you bloody shut up. You're chatting away. Distracting me.
Dave, sorry, I've got to pull you up on something you said earlier on. You just said that we've all matured and we've all grown up. Yeah. Have you seen the clip of the Dad's Army footage? Really?
Yeah,
we've grown up.
We haven't, have we?
We haven't, have we? It's
Do you know what? When I played that back, and at the time, I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm acting this quite well. This is quite good. And when I played it back, you three hamming it up at the end there.
Yeah.
James, Darren, and Jamie. Bloody hell! What was that all about? Am dram or what?
we were really in character, weren't we?
Yeah. I'm just playing Action Man.
Anyway, another topic of conversation that we were going to talk about, which is, and I think this is a really good one for photographers and everyone out there, is about instinct, photographer's instinct. And Jamie brought this up, and he said, when you don't have the time to think and compose, can you spot an image sort of to make instinctively? Is it something you learn, or does it come naturally? And I want to really quickly say here, one thing before we start. If you think it comes naturally, go back to your early shots and look at them. And then that will show you that it doesn't come naturally.
No, it didn't come naturally.
Yeah.
It does come naturally now as experience grows.
Yeah, but that is an instinct. That's learning. So you've learned what works and you've learned what doesn't work. And then you go out and you can see it now because you've spent the time and the experience learning it.
Yeah, so it's more
that
muscle
discussion
memory
closed
now.
down.
Muscle memory, exactly. yeah. End of
Next
conversation.
subject.
Second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that one done.
No, someone might disagree.
Gary. That was a good one.
Someone might disagree, but I just say, go. If I go back now, I was out today and I said it 3 or 4 times, and there's a shot down, looking back down a sort of long track.
Not to shoot down south.
Yeah, it's all right. I was looking back down.
Why did we invite them, Jay? It's your fault.
No.
We should have
It's
gone
not
north.
bloody me.
I told you we should have gone
Bringing
north.
the numbers.
The one place
They're
in
not
the
coming
whole
back.
of the south that's worth taking a photograph of. No, but I was looking down this long track and I thought, you know what? 2 years ago, that would have been the shot because it's the obvious one. Leading line off to a vanishing point, looking down the track, trees either side. I'd have done it portrait mode, and that would have been it. And I'd have gone home really happy. And I turned round and shot like literally 90 degrees at a load of trees that looked really complicated. And that's learning. That's go on then.
But something magical happens. You go full circle and you'll get that shot again with the path and the trees, and you'll do it differently and you'll do it
Put
better.
yourself in the middle of it. Make a selfie.
Something happens where there's a circle of it's almost like
The circle of life.
the
Wheel
circle.
of fortune.
It just happens where
Every week.
you'll go back to. I took a shot of a tree shaded by the sun dropping behind it. I still love that shot, but it's very amateur. To me now, looking back, I think, would I take that same shot now? But actually, I reckon full circle, if I went back and the cornfields were doing the same colour, I think I could go back and take it and get closer and tighter angle and make more of it. So don't discount your past, go back to shots.
But this time you'd make more time, you'd put more thought into it, wouldn't you? You'd fine tune your composition now.
No,
You just
I
said
have
you
to
would.
say, I think illustrating what Mally's
knowledge.
just said, Mally put out a video not long ago where he popped up to Crank Hill on a stormy evening, and 1 or 2 of the images up to the lone tree at the top were classic, there's a path, there's the leading line. And I'll tell you this, they were nothing like what he was putting out 12 months ago, the same composition. They were completely different. They were a path, but my God, they were good.
And it's because of the path put to the side. I remember.
Yeah, and a whole heap of other things, James. The processing, the shading, the lights and darks, all of it was so subtle and powerful. And that's what you do when you come back to it with the knowledge that Gary's talking about. And he's absolutely right. It's not instinct, because the instinct is, there's a path. Stick my camera around this way and shoot it. Happy days. And back in the day, you would be happy with it. But none of us now, not one of us, shot a path when we were out last week. Not one.
No.
The question I was raising was probably more relating to if you Simon Byrne put a post up on.
I didn't get that notification. Sorry, Jay.
It's all right, Darren. Carry on.
I didn't. When
What?
2 days ago you put that video out with a Ramen, didn't you, Dave?
I
didn't get that notification.
I didn't get a
Sorry,
Darren, we're in the middle of a podcast.
Sorry,
Can we
mate.
just-
I contacted YouTube and I contacted YouTube and I said, leave these guys out because they irritate me.
Hold on a minute.
because you was talking about it.
Report coming in.
Did honest-
YouTube's just. Hold on.
Oh,
Confirmation.
Don't tell me. 454 East 55.
This morning I'm on the summit of Araran.
Oh, wow, that's good.
What a delivery.
It's like
What a
a poet.
delivery.
It's like a poet, isn't it?
That's lovely.
Smooth as a cashmere codpiece.
Sorry, Jamie.
Anyway, sorry, go
Sorry.
on, Jamie.
No, you carry on.
You had
No,
the
no,
feather.
sorry,
That's fine.
sorry, Jay. Go on, mate. Sorry.
What I was
I've had a
saying
couple
was-
of beers and things are going a bit blurry. Sorry,
Clearly,
go on, carry on,
yeah.
mate.
I was trying to make a point that the question was more related to whether we're able to rock up, see a scene, see a composition, and take it and it be right, rather than just be a snap because it's in the wrong place. Simon Byrne posted an image on Facebook this week, and he said himself that he just rocked up to this. But I think he was in his car. He saw this scene. There was some colour in the sky. There was a bit of mist. He jumped out of his car. He got there and he got some foreground interest. He balanced the shot. Everything was right about the shot. And he got back in his car and ran off. And it was a cracking shot. Now, it wasn't a phone snap. It wasn't a snap that you'd see generally on social media. It was a really nicely composed shot and everything worked with it. So my question is, does that come naturally, or do you learn how to do those skills? And Gary's obviously answered the question from the beginning anyway. But, I do a lot when I'm out and about, and I'm saying that something's just caught my eye, or I've just been distracted by something over there. And often you look and you see a composition just out of the corner of your eye, and it seems as though it's there naturally. But is that experience? Is that because I've walked past so many times and I wouldn't have noticed it, but now the photographer eye kicks in and you see a composition?
It's years of experience that make it become natural. It's like you do like Manny said, you do a full circle. So what you do is you go off, you start off by taking a shot that you have no idea why you've taken it and it might work, and then you come back full circle and you take that shot because you know why you're taking it. It's like I've taken the shot. You take the shot of the, like you said, the pathway with the trees either side, oversaturated. When you first take that shot, it's because you don't know what you're doing. But when you come back and you come full circle and you take that shot, it's because you want to take that shot. I want it to be oversaturated. I want it to be portrait. I want it to be a path. But you know there's other shots there. When you first start, you don't know what else is there. All you know is that shot because that's the obvious shot.
Here's the curveball though. Taste. So when you're younger, you tend not to like dark chocolate or coffee.
Oh, I love a bit of Bourneville.
Now you do.
Yeah.
But as you get older, your tastes change and you like a more subtle, a more deeper tasting, richer, smoother coffee or a chocolate.
Only the crumbliest, flakiest chocolate.
Nice, James, nice.
Thank you.
Oh,
Gary's
He's gone for some dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Sing that
The
again.
thing is, Darren, when you were stealing a quid out your mum's purse, you didn't go up the sweet shop and go, "Can I have a Bourneville, mate?"
No, yeah, you're right. I
It's
didn't.
like that with laces.
Do you know what? Right, I'm going to let on now. The only time that I ever stole money from my parents, there was honestly 50 pence. My stepdad, bless him, I loved him to bits, Bern, and he put all this change on the side, and I never stole a penny, and there was 50 pence, and I thought he'll never notice that. Did he noticed because it was only one. He only had.
Was he a Yorkshireman?
And he needed it for something, and he went, "I know it was here because of." Honestly, I terrible. So the only time, and I got caught for it.
I hope you bought Bourneville with it.
And on that bombshell, I think we're going to call it a night. Thanks ever so much for watching and listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. It's been a brilliant one this week, I think. God, we got so much done, and we had, James has finally arrived after the mist has disappeared. But it's it's been fantastic. So until next week, we'll see you all again very soon, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So there.